All right, live on Facebook and Instagram. Thinking will not overcome fear, but action will. That's what W. Clement Stone said. Hi, y'all. Thanks so much for joining me. In less than 15 minutes, I'll be sharing with you 4 blocks that are currently stopping you from taking action in your business and preventing you from moving to that next level. Please like and share this video if you get value from it. I'm Dr. P. I'm a strategic business coach, and I've been a school psychologist for 10 years, taught master's level psychology online courses, taught more than 10 of those, and served on professional organization committees, state, local, national, international level. And I have, just like many of you, overcome blocks on my journey to success, right? Success looks different for each one of us. And there's some blocks that I encountered that you may not have, and vice versa. So like W. Clement Stone said, thinking will not overcome fear, but action will. And that's the important part, action. Because if you guys follow me, you know I always say solutions plus actions equals results, right? So you do need to have action. Action plays a huge role in our outcomes that we're going to have, right? Because in my journey where I am today, just like you, like I said, you've overcome your share of obstacles, your share of challenges to get to where you are. But let's be honest, when you overcome that set of blocks or that set of challenges, it feels like really amazing at that point in time. But then out of nowhere, it's almost like 10 more blocks and challenges come along, right? When you after you just overcome that set. And it can be frustrating. I know, I get it. I'm there with you. That happens to each and every one of us. So as you're sitting there thinking about what you're going to be doing next in your business, I bet you have this long list of all these things that you want to be doing in your business, right? Because there's all these things that came to mind because you're like, hey, these are things that I should be doing in my business or that I want to be doing in my business. And you might be basing it off of your own research or things that people may have told you. And that's how you came about the list that you currently have, right? But how long have you had the list? And with all those things you have on that list, are you adding to the list all the time? Or have you actually checked something off of that list? I'm talking about, have you done the things on the list? Or are you just continuing adding and adding and adding and saying someday, maybe, yes, I'm going to do all these different things? It's just something for you to think about, because if you have this list and you keep adding to it, it means, and you're not checking off anything, it means that you're not taking action on what you have on your list. That's what that means, right? So why are you not taking action? That's what I want to talk about today. Blocks to you taking action. There's several blocks that are out there, but I want to talk about 4 of those blocks, right? Just 4 of them is what I want to talk about today. So I'm going to just jump right in and talk about those 4 things. By the way, with what I want to share with you, I am taking some information that I found on an Inc.com article and combining it with some information from entrepreneur.com. So you can feel free to check out those 2 resources, because like I mentioned a few seconds ago, there's several things that could be blocking your action, blocking you from taking action, I should say. And I'm only talking about 4. And those 2 resources, they have other things that could be blocking you if these 4 don't resonate with you. So those 4 blocks that are currently stopping you from taking action that you need to be taking your business to that next level and moving it forward. First up is feeling like the action is something that you should be taking rather than one you want to take. Because if you're paying attention, I did kind of hint to it that you might be feeling that these are things you should be doing, not things that you want to be doing. And be real with yourself. When it comes to things that you should be doing, that people tell you should be doing, are you really excited to be doing them? Or do you kind of drag and be like, oh, I don't really want to do it, because guess what? You don't want to do it because it's something people are telling you should be doing. And a big part of that should is that you're probably taking somebody else's plan and somebody else's goals, and you're trying to fit them or force them onto your business. But your business is your business. Their business is their business. Your plan is your plan. Their plan is their plan. Yes, I get it. You probably were researching and you found them and they're in the same industry as you, doing similar things to you, and you saw the success that they were able to achieve in their 3 years or 5 years or 1 year or even 6 months, and you're probably saying, hey, I want to do that certain thing, so I'm going to follow their plan. But again, that's their plan. And for you to take their plan and be using it and thinking those are things you should be doing, that's probably why you're not taking any action, because it's not your plan. That's where the problem is lying. It's not your plan. So therefore, you're not taking action. You're not moving forward. Their route to success was their route to success. You need to figure out your route to your success. Remember that strategic plan that you wrote for your business? Look at that strategic plan. That's your route to your success. So look at that plan and figure out the actions that you need to be taking based on your plan, because your plan has what you want for your business, right? So therefore, the actions are going to be the actions you actually want to be taking, because it's going to get you closer to your goals that you have for your business. So that way you are focusing on the things you want to be doing rather than the things you should be doing because other people told you so. So try it out. You'll start taking some action. Number 2 is doubt. We all got doubts. Let's be honest. We all have doubts. But how many times have those doubts kind of crept in and said to you, you're saying to yourself things like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be a business owner. Maybe somebody like me can't have a successful business, or what are people thinking, about my product or my service? And you have this doubt just creeping in. And some of these doubts can be so strong that they overpower us and prevent us from even getting started on a task. That's what ends up happening, because we're just doubting the fact that we can actually do what we set out to do, which is kind of funny, right? Because we walked out of these jobs that we had because we weren't happy, and we knew we wanted to be our own business owner. We wanted to be our own boss. Yet now, here it is, we're sitting down, we're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be my own boss. Maybe I should go back and work that 9 to 5. But should you? Come on, think about it. You went into having your own business for a reason. Yes, doubts do happen, but it's what we do next that makes a huge difference. Don't let the doubt overpower you. Don't let it cripple you from moving forward and taking the next step, from taking action, because that's what happens when doubts become so strong. So to help you with the doubts, rather than visualizing all of this negativity, how about try visualizing some success? The things that you want to be achieving, what will or what could happen when you take that action. Remember that list you wrote down? What could happen when you take that action that you wrote down on that list that you wanted to be doing? That can help you with taking the action and moving forward and overcoming that doubt that you're currently experiencing. Try it out and let me know how that goes. Number 3 is making decisions without setting a date. Yes, that can be a block to our taking action. Why? Because we're saying things like, oh yeah, I'm going to set up a new social media account. When? Oh yeah, I'm going to have a new office space. When? Oh yeah, we're going to launch this new product. When? You see, what's missing there is that date, that when part. In my free planning guide, I do talk about that when and why that when is important. So if you haven't had a chance to download my free planning guide, you can go onto our website, www.drpksolutions.com, and you're going to see a little pop-up come up, and you can download our free ebook. Because in there, I talk about the importance of that when, because if we talk about actions we want to take and we write them down, but we don't put a date to them, chances are we're not going to do the action, right? And we might end up taking some other actions either too quickly or too slowly. So it's either we doing them too quickly, too slowly, or not at all. And we taking other actions and making other decisions to do other things. Guess what? As business owners, we shouldn't just be making decisions all loosey-goosey, right? We have so much data, so much information at our fingertips that we are in a position to make informed decisions and realistic decisions too. Because when you look back at that list that I was talking about at the beginning of all of this, that you wrote down with all those things that you want to be doing, hopefully they're more wants than shoulds, all the things that you want to be doing, how many of them do you have dates written next to? And for the ones you have dates written next to them, how many of those dates are actually realistic? So I'm talking about the fact that, or have you put down on the list today that by next week you're going to launch a whole new product? Is that realistic for you? Because if you've already started the research, the planning, the development stage, maybe you are on your path to launching next week. But realistically, if you haven't started anything in that process, how realistic is it that you are going to actually launch this new product next week? And if it is next week, as in next week, Monday, are you really set up to be realistic? Is that a reasonable goal for you to actually accomplish? Again, I don't know what you've already done. I'm just saying, if it is that you haven't done anything whatsoever to help you with launching this new product, then how are you going to turn that around in 7 days? Just something to think about, because we need to have deadlines for the actions that we're going to be taking. We have to, because when you're setting your plans, not just highlighting what action you have to take, but the deadline by which you want to be accomplishing it. And use the data in your business to help drive your decision making. We're business owners. We got tons of data coming at us from all different angles. We need to be using that to help us with making those decisions and taking that next step. Most importantly, taking action. That is something that we definitely need to be doing. So those are the 3 so far. Now for the 4th one. Fear of failure. We all have experienced that fear of failure. You know, it creeps in every now and then. We're only human. But again, just like others have mentioned before, is what, like with doubt, is what you do when it happens. What do you do next when that fear of failure creeps in? Because a lot of times doubts can become so overwhelming that they tend to develop into fears. And it's usually that fear of failing. And again, we're human. We do think about the failures. But we shouldn't be dwelling on those failures, because if you dwell on those failures, you're in that realm of that negativity, and it's going to paralyze us and prevent us from actually taking action. And we need to be taking action. If we're supposed to be moving our businesses forward, we have to take action. We do, because our businesses aren't going to move forward if you don't take action. They're not going to move forward at all without us taking action. So I'm not sure where that fear of failure could be coming from. Sometimes it comes from within. Sometimes it could be coming from people in our lives, you know, who are unsupportive of what you're doing. It could be family, friends. The point is, it could be people who are very much so unsupportive, and they're telling you things that you're going to fail. You know, they're not encouraging you, motivating you, and helping you see the positives, but they're focusing on the negative. But you don't have to keep focusing on the negatives. You do not. Remember, I was talking about visualizing. You can also visualize successes. But do remember, the path to successes does contain some failures. It does happen. And failures are a part of the journey. But it's what we do when we encounter those failures that make a huge difference. That's where it comes. So yes, you experience a failure, but we got to get back up and we have to keep moving through. Remember, I mentioned using the data that you have. Use the data that you have in your business to help you with those decision making, to give you that if-then type of scenario, because we're going to be taking action, and not every action is going to result in a success, but it is going to result in an outcome. And that's where we have to make that decision. If the outcome is positive, what do we do next? If the outcome is negative, what do we do next? Yes, we might fail when we do that particular action, but what do you do next is what makes a big, huge difference for the outcome for your business on an overall scale. So I do challenge you to think of future successes rather than future failures, and also have that contingency built in, have that plan wherein if the outcome becomes positive, you still have to do what you're going to do next. If the outcome is negative, you're still looking at what you got to do next. Either way, you're still focusing on what you do next, what is going to happen after that. Focus on the positives. So those are the 4 blocks that I wanted to share with you that many of us are currently experiencing right now, and it's kind of stopping us from taking that action in our business. So again, those 4 were feeling like the action is something that you should be taking rather than one that you want to take, doubts, having doubts come into your life, and making decisions without setting a date. And then the 4th one was fear of failure. So if these are the 4 blocks that you're currently experiencing, you can rewatch this video or re-listen to this podcast, and therefore you can get what you can be doing instead of focusing on these blocks, so that you can overcome them and have that successful business that you want for yourself, right? So I'm Dr. Priscilla Kuser with Priscilla Kuser Consulting Solutions. Remember, y'all, solutions plus actions equals results. Thank you so very much for joining me. Bye.